How's it going, everybody? Uncle Bruce here with Stock Markets with Bruce. Good morning to all of you. Dare I say, welcome to Friday. It's Friday, March the 26th. Welcome one, welcome all. I hope you've had a good week. Has it been interesting? Has it been in any way entertaining this week for any of you out there? Stressful, perhaps? Wow, what a week this week. And another fun day coming today. Man, never a dull moment in this business. Hope you're going to have a nice weekend coming up. Hope a lot of you are going to be able to relax. Maybe some of you are going to get outdoors a little bit, get some fresh air. Let's hope for the best. As I am speaking to you, there's a giant cargo ship with containers on it that is at the moment stuck inside the Suez Canal. Excuse me, it's gone sideways and has blocked all traffic back and forth inside the Suez Canal. It's now been, this is the fifth day. Apparently, the numbers are staggering. Apparently, it's putting a spotlight just on how important the Suez Canal really is to the world economy. It seems that $400 million of goods an hour are being held up. That's 200 million each direction. To give you an idea of how important this is. So that's, what's that, 4 billion a day? It's nuts. It's $5 billion a day of goods, $5 billion of goods per day, not able to traverse the canal. So there are 200 ships apparently now backed up on both sides of the blockage, waiting for their, the green light to go. And of course, officials are frantically trying to get this ship unstuck. Apparently water levels are relatively low, but there's apparently a high tide coming tonight or tomorrow, next couple of, there's an unusually high tide scenario which could lift the water level somewhat and take the pressure off the ship. And then there's other concerns about that. The talk is that the nose of the ship is stuck and that the back of the ship is stuck, and that if the water level drops too much, then the middle of the ship could start to bow, and then that could fatally do it in. So now, then what you have to do is remove all the containers on the ship and then cut it apart and get it out of there. I mean, it's just, the logistics are just scary as can be. Anyway, these are big machines, but they're delicate in a way because they're not meant to be just picked up at one end, at the front end and the back end. Just hold it up like this and expect the middle not to do that. Trouble in the big city here. The GameStop story, just to kind of fill you in a little bit. Reading article after article, reading blog after blog, all kinds of entities out there who are commenting, as I had expected we would hear once this conference call was held and the financials released. I was hoping for more coverage of GameStop regarding the big picture of GameStop, and that finally broke yesterday. It finally happened, where more articles started to come out about the potential of the company's future, as opposed to it's checkered past or whatever the past was. Now, there's always two kinds of media. There's the projections of the company, and then there are those who pretend to talk about the company in a positive light or in a more neutral light, but then they put in a couple of digs to kind of put doubt in investors' minds. And you have to ask yourself, really, is all of the media we're hearing, all the stories we're hearing about with GameStop, is all of this truly independent journalism, or is it sponsored? And when I mean sponsored, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's possibly sponsored by those who want to get a certain message out for a certain objective. All right. Well, I keep getting these, I keep seeing these references from time to time regarding the company wanting to raise money. And like, this is all of a sudden a bad thing, could crush the will of the investors. It could just flood the market with all kinds of stock, all kinds of this stupid talk. And if you want to, you look into this filing that the company made, the admission in their financial report saying, yeah, we might raise money. Well, they filed this months ago and no one paid attention to it. No one cared. But now people care. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, gosh. But the money is so tiny. The filing was a $100 million filing back in December, when $100 million would have made a big difference to the company's overall value. I'm going to say this too, that at the time that the filing was done, it could well have been that the shares were trading at $10 a share, and the company was filed what's called a shelf registration statement with the SEC. I think that's the term, where they go with a broker and they say, we might issue stock up to $100 million worth, but not exactly that, maybe only 10% of that, half of that, depends on the market willingness to buy it, our willingness, whether we want to sell it or not, a lot of factors. Nothing's been done. But at the time, back in December, if the shares were trading at $10 a share, and they issued 1 million shares from the Treasury at $10 a share, they would bring in $10 million. For $100 million, they would have had to have issued 10 million shares back in December. Well, 10 million shares on top of the 70 million that were out at the time would have put the overall market outstanding stock at 80 million. Today, at about $200 a share, 20 times as much, $100 million, you're talking about, you can't even issue 1 million shares. I mean, 1 million shares is $200 million. So it's a 500,000 share issuance of stock. 500,000 shares would bring in this $100 million in like 5 minutes. That's all it would take these guys if they were to do it. But they don't need $100 million right now. They didn't need $100 million in December, but they wanted to have the ability, just in case we needed an extra $100 million, we could just go and get it from the market. But they were probably thinking at between $5 and $10 a share. Things have changed since December, obviously, with new management, new majority owner, larger owner, Mr. Cohen, and new board members and a whole new philosophy. So this is irrelevant now. I would be really delighted if the company were to go to the SEC and say, we want to amend this, with Jefferies. We want to amend this offering, that if we were to go to the market, we wouldn't be looking to raise $100 million. I would love them to come out and say, if we're going to amend this thing, we'll raise $1 billion minimum, or $5 billion, or not minimum, but a maximum of $5 billion. So rather than limit yourself at $100 million, which is 500,000 shares right now, why don't you amend it so that you have the ability to do a fundraise up to $5 or $10 billion bucks? That won't cause a problem with the stock market, because the retail investors who have been piling into the stock now for 24 hours, I guess, when it hit 113, 116 yesterday, and now it's all the way up here. These folks know the big picture, and they know that if the company were to raise $5 billion with only $300 million in debt, they only owe $300 million. If they added $5 billion cash to the $600 million they've got, $5.6 billion cash in the bank of the company, and they would issue, not a lot of stock to get it, the company would be a lot stronger and would now be actually the kind of a company that could go on a shopping spree to buy other entities, other companies, perhaps either other public companies or other private companies, and absorb them into this entity and take it further. But I don't see this happening right now for a while. Why? Because the management of the company is, I think, about to dramatically change. 8 directors are resigning from the company, and 8 new directors will come in. We're waiting to find out who the prospective group could be, but something tells me, a little birdie on my shoulder says, they're going to be given the seal of approval by Mr. Cohen. So being that he's the largest shareholder and he's on the board of directors, I have a feeling that the 8 newbies coming in will be very e-commerce centric in the philosophy of Mr. Cohen, that kind of philosophy, which tells me then that if the company was to raise additional capital going forward, it'll be after Mr. Cohen has the board in place the way he wants it. And I think after the company, GameStop, will have released a lot of information to the marketplace, to analysts, bloggers and vloggers around the world, so that the entire planet, the investment planet that this company is in, will be fully aware of just what the company, where the company is headed for, what its destination ultimately is, and where it's ultimately already going quickly. That tells me that these shares won't be down here. I don't think so. I think the shares will be substantially higher in price, because the Cohen effect on this company's shares is now beginning to show itself. The hedge funds can mess around with the stock all they want. They can try to short it. They can try to slam it. They can try to panic sell it. They can try to panic drop it. They can try every trick in the book to mess with the price performance of the shares in the open market. But when it's all said and done, there is this relentless army, like army ants. There's an army of army ants coming down the field, coming across the horizon, moving forward, and it's not going to stop. Again, thank you all of you for being here and asking these questions. I appreciate it.